I'm Lee Spencer with the Racing Boys, and I'm here with Chris Buescher. Huge news. I think you caught the entire NASCAR world by surprise, but we are absolutely thrilled to see you go back to Roush Fenway Racing next year.
I appreciate it, and there was a surprise for everybody, and myself included. Everything came together so quickly. You really didn't have time to process much of anything, but for me, it's pretty neat to have the opportunity to come back to Roush Fenway Racing and to have that homecoming for me. And I spent a lot of years of my early career over at that organization and working in the shop and up in the gym and driving those race cars. So it is neat to be able to go back and see old friends. I've gotten so much support from people from the Ford world, the Roush world, the Roush Performance world from when we had them on the car. I think it's just so neat that everybody does have that response coming back, and so for me that will make it easier that you do already have a lot of relationships there. It's been neat to see their progress on track. Not so neat earlier in the year when you're trying to outrun them, but now that you're sitting there looking at it, it's like, all right, well, that's cool to be able to plug into that program and try and step up and keep progressing it as they've been able to do.
What would Chris Buescher now say to the 16-year-old that signed that contract with Roush Fenway Racing?
I think we're if we're standing side by side, it's kind of giddy that Jack Roush is sitting there at 16 and now at 26 saying, I believe in you, that you can get the job done in our race cars, and we want you over here to do that. And so when I was 16, it was an awesome feeling knowing that he barely knows me and he's willing to give me this opportunity, and they put so much behind me for so many years. And then as our sport changes, the world progresses, the downsizing happens through a lot of teams, and you find yourself on the outs for a little bit and having to do whatever you can do. And so I was able to have an awesome opportunity with Front Row Motorsports for my first year at Cup to go win a race, make the playoffs in that regard, and gain a lot of invaluable experience. And then over the past 3 years to have the opportunity to be at a great organization with JTG Doherty Racing to help elevate it as they've helped improve my career at the same time, to meet some awesome people through all of our sponsors with Kroger and Scott Products, Busch's, Baked Beans. I mean, all the brands that have really made our seasons possible over the last couple of years. And then for the opportunity to come up to, after 3 years over there, to be able to go back to Roush Fenway and try and pick up where we left off. I mean, it's a pretty awesome feeling for me to be able to go do that. It's nice that they still have the trust and the faith in me to be able to go get that job done. And I think it's going to be a good fit. I think be able to sit there with Ryan and really be able to try and help keep that program progressing and be able to go make the playoffs with two cars and hopefully win some races.
I am a huge fan of Taga Sector, and I've got to say, you certainly got a ton out of those cars because they are in a building mode. They are a younger, newer team. Not that Tad is, because he's been, he's had Busch. I mean, he's been in it since Busch Series. But I think probably the biggest takeaway you will get from there is spending 3 years there is like getting a degree in marketing and business from the best guy when it comes to sponsorships in the garage.
Absolutely, and I think that's something that we're talking about. Is when you look at the programs that are being put together in our sport nowadays, that Tad is on the forefront of it and able to do things that so many people don't understand. And I told him that. I was like, well, the first meeting I went to with him 3 years ago, I walked out and I said, Tad, you have no clue how far ahead you are of other programs. I mean, I just, and I don't know that he needed to hear that from me, but for me to see it and realize how in-depth and how much time and effort he puts into making sure that it's not just a sponsor and an advertisement for a program, but it is a true way for them to invest to be able to get their return back. It's awesome to watch. And so they've built a program that is so successful with Kroger and all the other brands that it's awesome to see. Really really incredible. And I think that's something that everyone needs to look at as our sport keeps changing. I think that version and that model that he's put in place, that everyone over there's put in place, is something that you will see become more prominent in our garage.
I really think that's going to serve you well in years to come, especially as difficult as sponsorship has been these days. And looking at Roush for a mid-level team, which is, what they are, they're on the way back up. They've been able to do a lot as far as bringing new sponsorship in. So I think that this is kind of a win-win where you are in the progression of your growth in NASCAR as well. But I also look at the fact that top business managers, they say you want to surround yourself with people who are smarter than you to learn from that. You've been the alpha guy over at JTG since AJ left, and it's been difficult to have a rookie teammate that you're more helping him get up to speed than helping yourself. Now you get to, and you've been around for a long time, so it's not I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is you can use Ryan Newman, who has an engineering degree, who gets the most out of his cars, to be there as a mentor and help elevate your game as well, rather than it be the flip side of that at JTG.
Yeah, I would definitely say that being the veteran of an organization makes you feel old real quick. It's been a little bit harder not having that senior person to lean on, but at the same time, Ryan's a tremendous guy, a good friend, and a really good race car driver. So we've been able to play off each other and still learn from him at the same time. Trust me, it's not a one-way street, and that's been cool. I think it's like that with pretty much any drivers. Everyone has their different quirks and the different things that they do that make them good race car drivers. And I had a bunch that I learned from AJ in my years there early on. I've learned from drivers at Roush and from Landon at Front Row Motorsports. I mean, it's you learn it from other people and from your teammates as much as you learn from yourself and just getting the job done.
But hearing the accolades from Steve Newmark, president of Roush Fenway, and Jack himself saying that this is the right time with them on the upswing to bring somebody in like you who is consistent, who gives good feedback. That was, not to throw Ricky under the bus, but Ricky told me last week that learning how to give solid feedback, well, he's been in the sport for 9 years, but apparently they thought you did a really good job of getting the point across, communicating what you need in a car, and the fact that you keep the cars in one piece. I love the fact what you said about, I worked on the cars. Working on cars for the drivers coming in today, that's a lost art, but it gives you a better sense of taking care of the equipment, does it not?
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you, first of all, an appreciation to every guy and girl back in the shop that is putting together our race cars, really nice pieces on the track. It gives you an idea of what's underneath it and what you're feeling. You can pinpoint better, I believe. You really have a good understanding of everything that's going on. Stopping shy of some engineering background, as you point out that Ryan has. You have good understanding of what's underneath your race car, and so you also know that in order to make your race cars better, you have to bring home one piece and be able to study them when the day's over. You got to be able to find why you were good that weekend, why you were bad that weekend, and so it's important. And also when you look at our sport today, the aero side is very important, and is pretty far biased to that side of things. That when you knock a fender in, that's a big deal. When you flat side the right side of the car, I mean that's a big deal. Things change so quickly. So in order to have a consistent race front to back and start to finish, you have to keep that race car in good shape. And so that's what try and keep it as straight as you possibly can. And if you do hit the wall, try not to tell anybody for a while and see if it affects it too bad. No, Richmond was tough on me, and I hit the wall, so I didn't figure I needed to tell anybody. But I think there's just so many things that go into knowing what's under it, knowing the amount of work that goes into it, and understanding what the car needs to come home like to be able to learn from it and progress.
Final question. I will be disappointed in 2020 if I don't
Make the playoffs. I think that was the goal of mine. I think it's time to get back to that point. We've been able to progress. I progressed personally, and I think was looking at that as what we were planning on doing with JTG Doherty Racing next year as we were working through everything. And now that things have changed and we have this opportunity to go back to a place where I spent so much time, I think the goal's still the same. You got to go make the playoffs. And if we don't, that'll be disappointing on my side. So I know what's ahead of us. Race wins would be an absolute bonus and an awesome way to just guarantee that playoff spot. So that's what we'll be heading towards. But yeah, I think for us, we need to make the playoffs next season.
We really appreciate your time today, Chris, and good luck with continuing the Roush Fenway legacy, because I think we all want to see Roush succeed.
I appreciate it, and I'm excited to go back. I really am. The more I sit here and take it in, the more I realize that was such a big part of my life early on, and how awesome it was for me, my family, to be able to take that burden off of them and say, all right, we're going racing with a premier organization, and to be able to get that originally was so cool, and have been in great company over the last 10 years wherever I've gone. But it is neat to go back to the one that gave me my first break in the sport.
Thanks again.
Thank you.